A pleasant good evening to all our viewers this evening. Welcome to the Women in Need organization of the British Virgin Islands' first empowerment session on overcoming depression. And we have a fantastic ambassador leading the charge on this subject matter on the by the name of Sophia Rubain. You are listening to the voice of Alicia Green, the director of WIN BVI, and I am going to actually turn the program over to our leader. Sophia, just by way of introduction, is no stranger to this type of forum. She is a radio and TV personality in the Virgin Islands. Her voice has been heard on just about every popular radio station in the Virgin Islands, to include Z-Rod FM, KISS 101.3 FM, Radio 1, AM 1000, and 105 Jams, to name a few. Sophia is also the host of Talk on All, where she highlights Virgin Islands food, entertainment, and artists, just to name a few. Sophia is also the brand ambassador of Digicel, and most recently was crowned the first ever Mrs. Curvey, British Virgin Islands, where she is using her platform to not only be an ambassador for women in need, but to be the spokesperson for women suffering from depression. Using her talent and outreach to run a massive campaign on depression, she intends to shed much needed light on how important mental health is among women who are mothers, wives, widows, and divorcees, and of course, young adults. It is a privilege and honor at this time to introduce to you Ambassador for Women in Need and the person that will champion this important platform, Miss Sophia Rubain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you to everyone that took the time to tune in tonight. I am indeed excited. As Alicia mentioned, my platform, as for my reign as Mrs. Purvey, British Virgin Islands, is mental health among women. I have been there through depression, overcame, and I just want to be the voice for the voiceless, there for the women who may be suffering in silence, don't know where to turn, and they're looking for some form of help, recovery. So I am here to help those women. And tonight with me, helping me in my efforts to do that, I have two wonderful ladies joining me tonight. First off, I would like to introduce and welcome Miss Eboni S. Brathwaite. She is a native of beautiful St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands. She is a mother of one perfect little human. Eboni holds a master's degree in public health and always had a love for healthcare and helping people. However, her greatest passion lies in writing. Writing is her number one go-to outlet where she finds peace and healing. She's ran a successful blog, Dear Ebby, where she wrote about her experiences as a disease intervention specialist, testing and giving diagnosis of HIV and sexual transmitted infections to the individuals of the communities she serves. She also covered topics on love and relationships. Writing a memoir has been the top of her bucket list, and finally, with the now published On the Corner of Unhappy and Delivered, she can check it off the list. Her purpose of writing this memoir is to help individuals by sharing her life experiences, by learning firsthand about love, deceit, loneliness, witchcraft, growth, faith, and deliverance. Hopefully, her story will resonate with many others and help them find peace, knowing they aren't alone, and with God first in their lives, there is hope at the end of it all. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce and welcome Ms. Eboni Brathwaite. Hi, Eboni.
Thank you for having me, Sylvie. I appreciate you so much. We spoke already talking about my book, and we had
will be. Thank you so much for being a part. And our next lovely guest here this evening is none other than Dr. Michelle Martin. Dr. Michelle Martin is a licensed clinical psychologist and a native to the Virgin Islands. Dr. Martin has worked in a variety of mental health areas, including community mental health with children and adults, substance abuse, outpatient crisis centers, school counseling, and child and adolescent psychiatric residential treatment. Dr. Martin, a graduate of Charlotte Amalie High School in St. Thomas, earned a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Florida A&M University, a Master of Arts in Educational Psychology, as well as Behavioral Science from University of Sarasota, and a Doctorate of Psychology from California Southern University. She has an intense passion for helping and working with children, adolescents, individuals, and families who are dealing with mental health issues and life situations that present struggles and challenges. Her clinical specialties include child and adolescent mental health, self-injurious behaviors, trauma, serious emotional and behavioral issues, mood disorders such as depression, bipolar, and anxiety, autism spectrum disorders, developmental disorders, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Dr. Michelle Martin has over a decade of experience in mental health and most recently started her own psychological and development practice as of March 2019.
As depression, I just know I was mad as hell. That's
Right.
it. And just going to see her every week is when she diagnosed me as being clinically depressed. And that was just one way that it was coming out with the anger and the rage and stuff like that. But
So something traumatic happened, something triggered your depression?
A relationship, I think for the most part, it had more to do with the relationship I was in at the time. So it was just a lot of drama and stuff like that. But even from younger, I think I went through a lot of, bouts of, I wouldn't say depression back then, but just being sad when I was younger as a teen, just always being sad and things like that and not understanding what it was. And then when I got into relationships and then I saw myself going to that point of anger and rage, that's when I sought help. And that's when I figured out it was depression. Now being an adult, I would identify just knowing that I always want to be by myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to text. I just want to be by myself. So now I know what it is. Now I can identify when I'm going into that particular stage where I just want to be alone. I know it's depression trying to set in. So I would know I need to speak to somebody or something like that. Seek help.
Right. Well, you mentioned it was a relationship that led you to depression. And I'm assuming the end of a relationship or just being in the relationship altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, the end of my relationship was the cause of my depression. And I think a lot of people feel that, it's just a relationship. It was just a man. It was just a woman. What are you depressed for? Just plenty fish in the sea. But I guess Dr. Martin can, step in here in terms of what happens, to a person, whether man or woman, but we focusing on women now, when it comes to the end of a relationship. How is it possible for it to turn or create depression in a person?
Very good question. So there's a lot of contributing factors. And I was privileged to read Eboni's book. So not diagnosing you, but I'm using her as an example of contributing factors. So she initially began discussing the story of her upbringing and how, she witnessed a lot of turmoil as far as healthy relationships. And then she also elaborated on how she herself had a chain of events of unhealthy relationships. So I say all of that to say, when a lot of us finally get into a relationship where we feel a very strong emotional connection, sometimes we deflect our pain from our childhood, onto this person. Sometimes came into the relationship with low self-esteem, so we're looking for this person to help build us up. And many people, they want to compensate this relationship for what they didn't have. So I have a lot of people come in who say, you know, I didn't have a healthy family growing up, so I want to have the marriage, the child, the white picket fence. And so they imagine all of these things with this person, but that other individual, they didn't want that. They didn't sign up for this. Sometimes it was a fling that was going good. And so when things go south and we have all of these hopes and dreams and all our eggs in this basket, it's depressing because we didn't see it coming. We're emotionally damaged already from what we haven't healed from as a child. And so we end up angry. We want to be isolated from others who want to give us love. We start to deflect our hurt and pain onto the people closest to us. So there's a lot of contributing factors, but Ebony's book really breaks down how she got to her point.
Right. Well, for me, my experience, it felt like somebody had died, like legit died. Like I was mourning. That's how it felt for me. It's like you cry, you cry, you cry. Don't care what you do. You don't feel better. It just felt like somebody died.
And that's what people say. A lot of times, you know, jokingly, but it's true. You ask somebody like, hey, what's going on with Bob? And the person would say, Bob is dead to me. Because that breakup feel is dead. You're grieving. And it's a lot of hurt, especially when you vested so much time, so much emotions into this person. And for them or for you guys to decide that it's not going to work anymore, it is hurtful. It hurts. And so there's no magic pill, even though I wish I had it at times too. There's no magic pill to heal from that.
Right. So how would you say the level of importance in terms of support from your family? Because, I mean, we grew up in the Caribbean. We kind of grew up a little rough. It's just a man, as I was saying earlier. But how important is family support going through depression?
Well, I can hop in on that one. It's extremely essential. And just from a psychological perspective, a lot of referrals for individuals who are going through a breakup or going through depression usually comes from someone closest to them. Not often do you hear the person sign themselves up or want to register on their own. Someone listened to their story and said, you know what, you need professional help. And that's usually what comes out in the intake. So when you have that good, healthy support system, that grieving process is shortened because you're able to distract yourself, you're able to build yourself up and move forward. But if you don't have healthy friendships, healthy family ties, you're healing from that trauma, and then you're healing from the drama of your breakup. So it is extremely important.
Right. And I would attest to that because, you know, I thought my recovery was, I mean, I still have my moments, but I thought that my progress was wonderful. I seek professional assistance, of course. And I had really, really good support from my good friend Aloma in Miami. And I always say, had I not have her, I really and truly don't know where I would be. And I think that is so important to have that healthy, positive support system when you are going through things like that. But before we go any further, Dr. Martin, I want you to give us the clinical definition of depression and the signs.
Okay, so depression is kind of a wide spectrum. So I'll hop in on the symptoms and then go into it. So if you're having trouble sleeping, that's generally a given, meaning too much sleep or too little sleep. Decreased appetite, if there's changes in your appetite, more so, not just decrease. So if you're not eating at all or eating too much, those two are also symptoms and issues to look into. We have being isolated, enjoying being away from others, engaging into risky behaviors. So you may start to drink more than usual, or very trying to say this in the politically correct manner, making decision-making skills that you didn't put too much thought into. So some people may engage into a lot of heightened sexual activities. Gambling is also a huge one because they're doing all these things to distract themselves. So depression can range from a variety of time as well. So if we're looking at these behaviors are happening for 2 weeks, it's not so much that you're clinically depressed. However, if this behavior has gone on for 30 days or more, that's when we know it's very significant and you may need medication as well to help as far as an antidepressant. But there's also natural things that you can take as well.
Right. Well, I've been doing a little research and I found that women tend to suffer from depression more than men. Why is that?
I don't agree. And the
You don't
reason
agree?
I say that, data says it because women report it more.
Ah.
It makes you wonder who's really collecting the data, because if you go into a barbershop, you might find some men who are going through depression, but they're not going to report this to the CDC or what have you. They're very rare to come into therapy. I crack the joke all the time. When a man comes to me, it's two things. They will court order, or the woman say, if you don't go get yourself together, I gone. And that's when these men come to counseling. It never fails. So I think as far as gender is concerned, that I think we're pretty parallel. But as far as data, Sophie, you're very correct. Data reflects a lot of women who go through depression.
Right. All right. Well, if you're just tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the wonderful Dr. Michelle Martin, as well as Eboni S. Brathwaite, and we are discussing depression and, of course, overcoming depression. So I want to jump back to Eboni. Now, you said that you wrote your book because you hoping that your story will resonate with someone. But at any time did you say, listen, the backlash of sharing my story, sharing that I was depressed, sharing that my boyfriend was cheating on me, sharing all of your private, stories, did you at any point say, I'm not going to do this again? Or is it something that you were really passionate about doing?
To be honest, Sophie, it really didn't matter because it was about my healing also. So initially I was like, it doesn't matter. This is my truth. It is what it is. So I was with it. But the backlash, I think the most, it wasn't as hurtful, but I would say it kind of confused me, was older people, like my mom, not my mom, mostly my dad, because boy, but older people feel, oh, you was going to counseling, keep that to yourself. Don't put it in a book for people to read. Whatever you were going through, you shouldn't tell people. So I was like, I know he old school, but it was just like, but Dad, this is my truth. You know how much people actually came back to me and said, you know, I was going through that. I really never seen a counselor, this and that. And I think when my dad and I were going through it at the moment, I was like, oh gosh, and now I feel kind of bad. Not totally, but I did feel kind of bad because I think he was a little embarrassed. And I was like, you know what, maybe, but I don't take back writing the book. And then to what helped me to get over the hurdle, I remember the first morning that somebody wrote something about it. I think we spoke about it, Sophie, a girl, and she was in the melee drama too. And I didn't like how she took it. But then somebody emailed me the same morning and told me their story. It was like same as mine. And I was like, people are still getting it. Women are getting it. And to be honest, I had to apologize a whole year later after the book came out because I didn't know anything about Facebook Messenger. And I didn't have it at the time. So when I got it, I just went through my friends list who emailed me about the book. I mean, inbox me about the book. But when I found this thing called archive messages, it was a whole year later. I had like so many inboxes from other women, and I was like, oh my, and I surely hit them back. I was like, I know it's a year later. I'm sorry, boo. I didn't know nothing about Messenger, but giving me their story in detail. Like,
Right.
it's only mine. They're telling me their story too. And I was like, they get it. They are not alone. Even, and I'm gonna give you a little quick example. Sunday was Mother's Day. Mother's Day is not good for me. Has never been. This is my 4th year. Has never been good for me. And I saw a celebrity, this girl named Masika Kalisha. She posted something and the Shade Room reposted it. So I reposted hers and I said, I'm not alone because I feel this way every single year. And I don't want to see my child on Mother's Day. I would prefer not to. I want to be in a spot, just like she said, with, doing my own thing and getting a break and feeling appreciated. And again, DMs like crazy. Look what happened to me today. And I'm going through this here. And this one girl said, I cried when I read your post again. She was like, I'm telling you, I cry all over again. I was like, oh. So I said that to say, like, sometimes just sharing a story, people will be like, I can't believe you're going through it, because people really think they're alone in everything. What, regardless of, they think it can't be nobody else in this world that's feeling the way I'm feeling. And just from that little post on Mother's Day, I got so much stories. It made me laugh, but I was like, yeah, see, I'm not alone. So I'm okay with writing the book and putting out my truth, because it has so many people that are related to it and even ask me, so you saw this person, and I would give them who I went to at the time. I have referred them to my counselor back then, my therapist back then, and even just Sunday gone, I have a family friend that lost his mom recently in Tatola. And I told him, I think you need professional help. Don't know if he will, but I always say, go there and go to God. Those are the two, find professional help, find God. So,
I think it's a Caribbean thing where we just sweep things under the rug. We hide how we feel. We don't want nobody to know. And I'm Sophie B. I'm a public figure. You can't go there telling people these kind of thing. But then when I'm like, well, Beyonce wrote a whole album about her husband cheating on her. We have Oprah spoke about her being raped by an uncle. She was pregnant. Tyler Perry spoke about his abuse. So, and we idolize these people. We enjoy listening to their stories here in the Caribbean. But as Sophie says, well, my marriage ended and I was going through depression and this happened and that happened. Well, you telling people that far? Yeah, no. So it's like, why is it that when our people trying to reach out to people and try to share our story and help and empower and inspire, we turn away from it? But when we have other people on the mainland, wherever, America, South America, wherever, we welcome them with open arms. It's so confusing to me because I received a lot of backlash from, just trying to share my story. Oh, you just bitter. You trying to get back at the person, this and that. And I'm like, this whole thing just went over your heads. You're not looking at the bigger story. There's a woman somewhere who can't get out of bed. Her children are suffering. They're failing in school because she can't help them with the homework. She's so depressed. She can't concentrate on work. She have like 3 warning letters from her boss. These are things that are happening and nobody knows because they're afraid to say something because they're going to be scolded or embarrassed or shame or whatever the case may be. So I just want people to know the real reason why I am deciding to come out and speak about what I went through, because I'm like, listen, what I went through was not easy. I mean, I lost 10 pounds in almost less than a month. I could not even walk. I couldn't reach my lips, but there were things that I did to help me to overcome and be able to sit here tonight and share my story. So I just want, people in the Caribbean just to have a more open mind when it comes to depression and expressing yourself and having a voice, because it's so important. It is so, so important. And I just want to thank you ladies again for being a part of this. But Dr. Martin, what would you say is the most misunderstood part of depression? Because I know some people, oh, you just untidy, you don't clean, you don't do these things. What is the reason for you not doing these things? And the person might not be able to explain themselves, but the other person who is scolding them don't realize that this is part of depression.
In my opinion, it would be considering depression a weakness. Too many times I've heard people feel as if they want to give up. They feel as if they can't be a mom to their kids because they feel weak due to depression. And so in a nutshell, I wish as a community, especially being from the Virgin Islands, it's so small, but it's so sad in the sense of mental health is like a millennial thing to me. I feel when, older people hear the term counseling and therapy, it's just like a omen, like what? But I love the fact that millennials are really educating themselves about it. A lot of celebrities are being very open about their mental health diagnosis. So it's sounding as if it's okay. But there's still that huge stigma in the sense of if you're going through something, you're weak and you'll never get out of it. So I think that's a huge misconception in the sense of, I think we all been through stuff. And the best feeling is to know that you've defeated. And when you look back, you're like, this was a lesson from God. What they say, God ain't gonna give you no more than you could bear. Hello.
Correct. Correct.
That phase and you get out of that zone of depression, being dark, you feel strong. So it's never a thing of feeling defeated. I think it's just a learning that we all experience.
Right. So for someone that's currently in depression right now, going through depression, what advice would you give them in terms of coping? You just feel the feeling coming on. But I was told, feel the feeling, feel it, but you have to release it. Don't stay there.
Absolutely.
So what advice, what would you give?
So I always tell people it becomes a lifestyle change in order to get out of depression. The first thing is getting your center. As soon as you get up in the morning, you need to center yourself, whether that be affirmations, whether that be prayer, whether that be journaling. Eboni just discussed earlier how her coping mechanism has been writing. You find what works best for you, because when you leave that house, if you leave that house, if you're not centered, everybody's energy is just going to come at you and throw you off. And that's when you see symptoms such as anger and low impulse control, because you're not centered. Okay. You then have a lot of wellness activities. I love it when I touch base with a client after intake and they tell me, you know what, I'm going for the walks like you talked about. I joined martial arts. I'm doing tennis. I get a high off of that because I know depression is about to leave this person right now. So finding an activity that's one, going to get you moving, and two, distract you from what's going on. You see a lot of people indulge themselves in work. That's a good thing, but you don't want it to become an addiction either. So there's a fine line. And then two, our diet. You gotta watch what you eat. You have to watch what you eat. And there's a lot of research-based diets that also show what foods can affect our mood. So that's why I said there's a lot of natural things that we can do without medication to help us start to get more on the right path.
Beautiful. Now you have your own practice, Therapy to Thrive. I love the name, by the way, Therapy to Thrive, because you need that therapy in order to thrive. Now you
so happy when I saw Mental Health Month had it in. I was like,
So you started in 2019. How has it been for you in the BVI?
Well, I was working in the with BVI for about 2 years prior to starting my own practice. So I laugh all the time because I was able to, one, get to know a lot of different stakeholders when I was working there. But it wasn't until I decided to start my own practice, that's when it was, well, who's she for? So once they started to know, like, okay, she has affiliation here, you know, her parents are children of the soil, I can say as a community, everyone has been so welcoming. And I think I can honestly say this is the first time in my life where I wake up every day and I love what I do. There's never a day that I'm disgruntled going to work. So it's a beautiful thing to go into the schools that my parents walked and be able to help provide a lot of interventions. We worked with a lot of families, a lot of government agencies. So, and since 2019, we got hit with the pandemic, but we've still been moving. So it's a beautiful thing to see it grow, and we can continue to increase a lot of services as well. So it's been
beautiful.
Good.
And for the month of May, mental health awareness, what is your special message that you have?
Good question. I don't think I even talked about this much in the last week or so, but we've been talking a lot about women's mental health. So it's funny that you contacted me about this subject because I just had my little one in January, and in those 9 months, I think my mood was stable because of the work I do, but I found it that, you know what, postpartum depression is real.
It is.
That dark phase during pregnancy is real. And despite the fact that I've been doing this work for about a decade, it's not till you're living it that you're like, you know what, we don't have any services like this available that's open. So for this month, I partnered up with Tisa Donovan to do a lot of women's mental health services. So we're doing nutrition counseling, a lot of yoga, meditation, one-on-one services. We want to do group, even though that's kind of a touchy issue in the Caribbean. But I think a good support team while you're pregnant is ideal. It was hard to do that when I was pregnant because of the pandemic, but things are becoming a little bit more lax. So we want to be able to do that, as well as discuss breastfeeding, lactation, the whole rigmarole.
Nice, nice. Well, I just want to shed light on the WIN organization, which is Women in Need. And of course, I'm a brand ambassador now for that organization. And the WIN Foundation is the head, and it's headed by Dr. Tracy Kemble. And there's a program called the Reclaiming Me program, which I'm a member of. And it's basically where women can go as a group, and we share our stories, share what we've been through, and get really good advice from Dr. Tracy. And Miss Alicia Green, who introduced me earlier, she is actually the only facilitator in the Caribbean region for the Reclaiming Me program, which is really awesome. So it's a place, again, that we could go, we can talk, and you'll be amazed to know, like, how many women out there are experiencing the exact thing, as Ebony said, the exact thing that you are going through. And part of when we raise funds for women who may need counseling, whether it's through the Reclaiming Me program, or we can, get them onto you at your facility as well. So at this time, I would just like to share a number. If you are willing to make a donation to the WIN Foundation, you can do it using ATH Mobile, and that number is 541-8190. You can go ahead and make a donation. Nothing is too small. You could go ahead and make that donation. And again, it assists women who need that support. They probably really want to come forward and get that help, but they just can't afford to do it. And that's where we come in WIN. We help them to do that. But Dr. Martin, can you just let the viewing audience know how we can get in contact with Therapy to Thrive if we are seeking assistance?
Before I do that, I would also like to pledge on behalf of Therapy to Thrive a couple of sessions for any individual who would like,
Aw,
especially women. So we can definitely discuss how I can finalize all of those arrangements. That's no problem. But
beautiful.
contacting Therapy to Thrive, our number is 284-542-9277. And you can call us during business hours, or you can WhatsApp at any time, and we'll get back to you to organize and schedule intake.
Beautiful. I love it. And Miss Ebony, now you know I'm going to ask. I think you know what I'm going to ask. I didn't hear you. What was that? Book number 2.
Yes.
Book number 2. I think everybody, we waiting. I even went on an Amazon and reading the reviews. People just waiting patiently. I don't think it's patient anymore, but we are waiting on book number 2.
Yes, I think I hear that thing every day. Where is book number 2? I can't go to a store without hearing that question. Hopefully, I'm working on it. We'll see. I don't know.
You'll see. All right. I don't even know what time it is as yet, but I think it's 7:42. But Dr. Martin, we're going to wrap up in a bit, but I just want you to give your final thoughts and comments, anything you want to say to persons out there seeking assistance who don't know whether they should seek assistance or not. Your final
thoughts. And that's a beautiful phrase that you said.
Can I cut in real quick?
Sure.
Martin is giving services as far as postpartum and stuff like that. And I just wanted to give my story real quick because I know it's probably new to people that she's given these services, but I think it's very important because I went through postpartum depression and I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works really in the Virgin Islands per se. I had my son in Texas, but I wasn't sure I was depressed either. Diagnosis is a big thing, but I wasn't sure before that I had him. But while I was in the hospital, at the time I had Cigna. I was still on the Virgin Islands Cigna insurance, and they called me in the hospital, and they asked you a series of questions about how you're feeling now that you had the baby. I think he was maybe a day old, if that long. And they asked me a series of questions, and I lied. Every single question. It was like 8 or 9 questions, and I lied on each and every one of them. And they were all about postpartum depression. And I was like, what they gonna do? Take my baby? Fear set in, and I lied. Everything she asked me, I lied. And that's just how I went about. So I left the hospital knowing I was already depressed. I already knew I had postpartum depression. I thought I was hiding it pretty good because, of course, I knew I had it. I was like, I won't get through it. I know how to deal with some depression. I'll get through it. But it's not until my sister said, we're calling Chanel. We're going to call Chanel. We're going to call, family member. I was like, it's not that bad. I'm okay. No, I was not okay. And I knew that from day one. I pushed that little boy out. Wow. So I don't know how they do it now. He was born in 2018, but they called me, Cigna representative called, and they asked these series of questions. I'm just saying that to see if they do it and women are afraid, maybe then they could reach out to Michelle here in the Virgin Islands, speak to her, set up an intake like she said on WhatsApp. I'm privileged because I have Michelle. This is my family. So I have her to talk to when I need to. I got on speed dial. But postpartum is a serious thing. And I know a lot of women, I don't really hear much women in the Virgin Islands talking about their postpartum depression. But I knew I had it, like I said, from that series of questions, day one. So I think we need to take it more serious. We need to start talking about it more. And Therapy to Thrive, it's here. They are here for this. So we really need to get more into that. And that's when now I get back to you. And
very good. At Snyder in St. Thomas, before discharge, they asked you the questions in there. I chuckle because I didn't tell them what I do, of course. But in my head, I was like, very good. But nonetheless, you said the phrase, and Ebony, you hopped on it. Even if you don't know. If you wake up in the morning and you feel anxious or unsettled, or you just feel internally that something isn't right, don't be afraid to reach out. The beautiful thing is 99.9% of the time, intake is free anyway. So just pick up the phone, call. That's the only way you'll get things done. You'll get in a path towards healing. It's nothing wrong. It's absolutely wrong with counseling.
Well, I had my two girls here, and I don't recall being asked questions. I know I experienced a little bit of postpartum with my second daughter. And I know that there are different levels to this postpartum, because you have it to the point where the mother would harm herself or the child. And people, we will watch the news in the virgin and it's, how you mean she put a child in the microwave, or how she do this or how she do that, but they're not understanding the chemical imbalance and all the things that happen after you have a baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well said.
That's really important. But again, Dr. Martin, your final words.
Yes, and once again, thank you, WinBVI, for having me here. It's always a pleasure. I love speaking about mental health, but I get a sense of fulfillment identify women's mental health, because as a culture, it's been something that we cope, we manage, and we hide. So I love the fact that we're identifying it. It's a part of your platform. Good luck. I know you got that. So in a nutshell, please call Therapy to Thrive at 284-542-9277. If you feel as if you, yourself, your family, children, if you feel you need to work on something mentally, and it could be an intake where we just discuss overall what's going on. It could be one-on-one therapy. It can also be psychological testing just to see where we are on the spectrum if you do have a diagnosis.
Right. And I just want to talk about confidentiality. I think that's where a lot of people, kind of like, I don't know, this is the Virgin Islands.
Right. So I tell everyone, I love my license. My license is how I pay my bills. I don't want no ethical dilemmas. So I always pride myself in the fact that the office is extremely confidential. All messages are secured and come directly to me. And the beauty of it, you're very rare to see me in the community because I live in St. Thomas. No. Honestly, as a clinician, I pride myself in confidentiality and ensuring that everyone knows once they meet with me, what we discuss here stays here. Even with children, unless you say you're in danger to yourself or someone else, then I have to report that. But very, very rare. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can definitely say the facility that I went to, I ain't nothing on the street. So, I definitely, the confidentiality level is superb here in the BVI. So I don't want persons to be afraid or worried, whichever facility you decide, whether it's Therapy to Thrive, the Wellness Center, Mental Health Department, whether you decide to come to the Reclaiming Me program, confidential. 100% for sure. But at this time, I just want to thank my sponsors. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. Digicel, Diamonds International, Beautiful by Jasmine, and Mystic Multimedia Services are wonderful sponsors making it possible tonight, as well as the WIN organization. Again, I'll give the number 541-8190. You can call if you have any questions, if you're interested in the Reclaiming Me program, or if you want to make a donation to Women in Need. Our beautiful guests for the evening, Dr. Michelle Martin and Eboni Brathwaite. This is so cool. We all grew up together. Am I the youngest?
I just
probably.
I'm the oldest.
You just made how much, you said?
40.
Really?
Oh, you did?
I know that.
Girl. Well, I'll be 40 in September, so yeah, you're the oldest. But this is such a treat.
Yes, yes, indeed.
It is, because normally we'll be meeting by the barber shop or by one aunt or another uncle. So, and I haven't seen you girls in so long. So this is definitely a treat to share this moment with you all. And I want to say thank you so much once again.
Thank you again. It's
And
always a
good luck.
pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in to this live session. There is more to come. So if you didn't catch this one or you want to get some more, don't worry. We're going to have another session. Again, thank you to the WIN organization, Miss Alicia Green, and everyone again that supported me for tonight's live session. Remember, I leave next month in June for California, Palm Springs, for Mrs. Curvey Globe, as well as my fellow queen, Deborah Maddox. She will be going to California as well, vying for the title of Mrs. Classique Globe. So please follow, support. We need y'all love and support during this time. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, ladies.
Bye.